Welcome back to Mind Portfolio Lab. This is the next video in the individual EA overview series. In the previous EA video, I looked at a previous day level component. In this video, I'm moving on to another system in the portfolio, which I'm going to describe at a high level as a structure-based EA. Internally, this is the EA I refer to as Larry. As with the other videos, I'm going to keep this deliberately high level. I will not be sharing source code, exact settings, exact entry rules, filters, stop logic, target logic, or trade management rules. The aim is not to give away the system or provide trade signals. The aim is to explain what role this EA plays in the wider portfolio, what type of behavior it is designed around, and what I monitor over time. At portfolio level, this EA gives me exposure to market structure behavior. What I mean by that is that it is not simply looking at one fixed daily level in the same way as the previous day breakout component. It is more concerned with how price behaves around areas of structure, reaction, and movement. I am deliberately not going into the exact mechanics of how that is defined, because that is part of the system itself. But in broad terms, this is a more structure-aware component rather than a simple price hits a level strategy. The reason that matters is because not every useful market move comes from the same type of setup. Some systems are built around fixed reference points. Some are built around momentum. Some are built around volatility or time of day. This one gives the portfolio a different type of exposure, because it is designed around the way price forms and reacts to structure. That makes it useful from a portfolio perspective. It is not trying to do the same job as every other EA. It is not there to duplicate the previous day level strategy. It has a different rhythm, a different trade sample, and a different holding profile. One of the reasons I like having this type of component in the portfolio is that it helps avoid relying too heavily on one type of market behavior. If every EA was trying to capture the same thing, the portfolio would look more diversified than it really is. The names might be different, but the actual risk could still be concentrated. So for me, the question is not just whether an EA can produce a positive backtest. The question is whether it adds a distinct source of behavior to the portfolio. This EA is designed to be more selective. In the uploaded backtest, it has fewer trades than the previous day level EA, which is useful context. That tells me it is not constantly active, and I should not expect it to contribute every week in the same way as a more frequent system. That is not necessarily a problem. A portfolio does not need every EA to trade at the same frequency. In fact, if they all traded in the same way, at the same time, that could be a warning sign. A more selective system can still have a role if the behavior it captures is different and if the risk remains controlled. The market conditions matter, as they do with every EA. This type of system can perform better when price behavior is cleaner and when structure is respected. If the market forms clearer reaction points, continues from them, or moves in a more organized way, that can suit this kind of strategy. It can struggle when price is choppy, overlapping, and difficult to read. If the market keeps reversing, distorting structure, or moving without follow-through, that can make it harder for the EA to behave well. It can also struggle in sudden spike conditions, where price moves sharply without the cleaner structure that the system is designed around. That is why I do not judge it trade by trade. A single losing trade does not mean the system is broken. A single winning trade does not mean it is performing perfectly. What matters is whether, over a larger sample, the behavior still makes sense. The backtest is useful here, but again, I do not treat it as proof. The uploaded test gives me a sense of the EA's character. It shows a smaller trade sample than some of the other systems, a win rate of just under half, and a holding profile that is meaningfully different from the more intraday previous day level component. In this test, the average holding time is around 12 hours and 48 minutes, and the maximum holding time is just under 90 hours. That is important. This means the system can have overnight and sometimes multi-day exposure. That creates a different type of risk from a strategy that normally closes within a few hours. Longer holding time is not automatically better or worse. It just needs to be understood. Longer holds may allow the EA to capture larger movement when the structure plays out, but they can also bring exposure to overnight gaps, news, changing conditions, and wider portfolio overlap. That is why the holding profile matters as much as the headline result. For this channel, I am trying not to focus on one headline number. I am more interested in the behavior of each EA, how often it trades, how long it holds, what kind of drawdown it has, and whether it is different enough to justify its place in the portfolio. For this EA, the key point is that it adds a structure-based component with a different holding profile. That makes it distinct from the previous day level EA. The previous system was more clearly a daily level, intraday style component. This one is more selective and can hold for longer. That gives the portfolio a different rhythm. At portfolio level, that is useful, but only if it remains controlled. When I monitor this EA live, there are a few things I care about. First, is it still taking the type of structure-based trades I expect? Second, Are the losing periods within a normal range for the system? Third, does the live holding time still broadly resemble the tested behavior? Fourth, is it adding something different to the wider portfolio? And fifth, is it becoming too correlated with other systems during drawdown? Those are the important questions. I do not want to react emotionally to one trade. I also do not want to ignore evidence if the system starts behaving differently from what I expect. The balance is to give the EA enough time to show its behavior, while still monitoring whether the live results remain coherent. That is really the point of this whole series. Each EA needs to have a defined role. Each EA needs to have a defined risk profile. And each EA needs to be monitored as part of the portfolio, not just in isolation. So, to summarize, this EA is a structure-based component in the portfolio. It is designed around market structure behavior rather than simply reacting to one fixed daily level. It is more selective, it has a different holding profile, and it can bring a different source of return and risk to the wider portfolio. The backtest is encouraging, but I am not treating it as proof. I am using it to understand the system's character and to decide what I need to monitor live. For me, that is the key point. This is not about finding one perfect EA. It is about building a portfolio where each system has a reason for being included. In the next video, I'll move on to another EA and go through the same process. What it is designed to capture, when it may perform better, when it may struggle, and why it belongs in the wider portfolio.